We had a goal of 120 bushel wheat with a $30 spend on fertility foliar applied. We're going to find out how that went with John Verell and Stephanie Zelinko in the XtremeAg Economic Fertility Challenge in conjunction with AgroLiquid in this episode of XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve.
Welcome to XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve podcast, where real farmers share real insights and real results to help you improve your farming operation. And now, here's your host, Damian Mason.
Hey there, welcome to a fantastic episode. You know, we've been doing a whole series of these with our partners at AgroLiquid. We're talking about economic fertility challenges where at each of the guys' farms, we did different plots. And in those plots, we say our goal is this amount of yield and with this amount of spend. And we absolutely held them accountable to that, to the penny. They could not exceed the dollar amounts that they were set. For John Verell's field, he put out wheat at 120 bushel goal. He had his prescription, and each of the guys teamed up with someone from AgroLiquid. He teamed up with someone from AgroLiquid that's in his region in Western Tennessee. Kelly put together a prescription. Johnny put out the crop, and Temple did as well. Each of them did very, very well, but none of them actually hit the 120 bushel mark. Temple did 109 bushels. Kelly did 111 bushels of wheat, and Johnny Verell's prescription yielded the best, 114 bushels per acre, also won the ROI challenge, meaning the amount of spend and then the amount of money that you made off it, which is very important to you. If you are a farmer and you are looking toward next year, you're thinking, where can I cut back and still actually not sacrifice yield because we are in a tight commodity price situation? Well, that's why we're here for you. Mr. Verell, we talked about this and then on a call just a week or two or three ago, and then you talked about where things are going to go. So big takeaways, what'd you do, what'd you learn, and what are you going to do moving forward? So let's start with the what did you do?
Yeah, so we went out there and, we planted the wheat crop. We had it planted when me and Stephanie came up with the crop I was going to do. And I was just telling her, for me, wheat's something we're always trying to push, always trying to get a little bit more out of. I thought it'd be pretty neat. Temple makes really good wheat. Kelly makes wheat also. It's turned out to be really good wheat up his way this year too. And so we kind of put together a team there that we were going to have competition. And me and Rob, he was with AgroLiquid, and me and him were talking about how can we win this. We didn't know if we'd win it on yield, but we thought we could win it on having a lower cost in it. So we went that way, and it ended up paying off. We won both ways. And I think the takeaway I took from it is being able to spoon feed what the crop is testing for, what the crop is showing you it needs, can work, and can really pay off. Because I think one thing this year that helped us and made some of these yields where they are, because my whole wheat crop did not make this, is the spoon feeding along the way because of the amount of rainfall we had. I think it was basically from April 1st to July 1st, we had 30 inches, which is a tremendous amount of rain during grain fill on wheat. And we were still able to capitalize on some very good test weight and very good wheat yield. So I think it does work. I think the biggest thing is you can sit there and test and see what the crop needs and adjust to it.
30 inches of rain, and normally during that time span, you probably get 12.
Yeah, probably so, yeah.
All right, Stephanie, you've been doing these all over the place. It's neat, it's fun, gives people a little something to wisecrack about. Johnny's not really that way. The other guys at XtremeAg, very competitive. They're kind of sassy. They like to smart mouth. John's not that way. He lets his game do the talking. Right here, clearly, he let his game do the talking. Temple lets his talking do the talking.
Yeah.
Verell lets his game do the talking. What'd you see?
Well, I saw with all these challenges, everybody had their own kind of personal bias based upon what they're used to for their location. And that followed through if they're farming on their home farm or making a recommendation somewhere else. All the guys took a similar approach, on all of their treatments, but it was different than everybody else. So, I worked with Kelly on this trial. He went all in. He micromanaged down to every little individual micronutrient they are. If you look, I think there was 8 or so products in his overall all blend, which only totaled 2 gallons per acre. But he did a lot of little things in there. And so, did it work out? Second place finish, I guess, isn't bad, but still not the winner. And so I think it comes down to, knowing what that crop and soil needs and then managing that the best way you possibly can.
Johnny, you came up with a Couple of thoughts though, and when we talked a few weeks ago, you said I got to figure out what I'm going to do on my wheat next year. And then before we hit the record button, you said I'm not even sure I'm going to grow wheat next year. So where are you?
Yeah, if you start running budgets and stuff, it's hard to figure out how to justify wheat, especially with your fertility costs that you have. And I think on the wheat I'm going to grow, I'm definitely going to cut back quite a bit on the front end, and then I'm going to try to spoon feed it along the way, see what happens after the first year, see how the wheat looks, see what it's testing for, and make those adjustments then, because that's one thing I did learn this year. You can affect the crop late season, because this all went out. I don't know if Stephanie said it yet, but this all went out at flowering. So it wasn't an extra pass. We actually put this big punch in right there at flowering with a $30 budget, basically. So you can still make that yield bump and adjust what that crop needs, even that late season.
You said this was or was not an extra pass?
It was not. I threw it in with the fungicide.
Got it. So the point is, moving forward,
You got to watch what you're spending. So, I mean, I think
you put out wheat every fall and you harvest it every June, and then you put in soybeans behind it, no till. You're going to change your system?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, right now we've cut the wheat acres in half, so it's going to be interesting what we're doing. And we haven't reduced our wheat acres like this ever. So it's just telling you, when you're dealing $900+ DAP, close to $600 potash, $600 potash, it's pretty tough to make those things pencil. But you can still make a crop like this work with some help with a liquid diet, so to say, as long as you're testing and you know what that crop's calling for and when it's going to need it too. Grain field's a big nutrition time for that crop.
Okay.
Preloading it all right now, Damian, we're not guaranteed a wheat crop. We have had, in the last 20 years, we've had 2 years where a freeze has hurt us. 1 year it pretty much took us completely out. That would be devastating to have all the nutrients put up front loaded on a crop and then lose it, in February. So yeah. We've had that happen.
Right. Stephanie, here's the thing. This is not the first time you've heard this discussion. We're in very depressed prices. I got to figure out where I can cut. I don't even know if this makes sense. What do you tell people?
Well, I think, having a budget.
And you're a farmer yourself, I should point out. Right. So you understand this. This isn't just some ivory tower thing like, tough it out. It'll be better. I mean, there's none of that stuff.
No, I want guys to be successful in not just successful the current year, but be able to farm the next year. And so I like having a budget and sticking to it, but also having that flexibility. And one thing that the foliar nutrition and that spoon feeding approach helps you with is you can delay some of those applications and spends. So if you get into, the season and Mother Nature's cooperating, you can spend those extra dollars because that yield's going to come. But if the flip side, if something happens where you're not going to get that top yield, then you have that option to cut back and not spend those dollars. So that's going to help you kind of manage that expectation and that final return for those dollars that you do spend.
Right. Mr. Verell, the $30 on the nutritional isn't the problem. The other numbers you just named, you just rattled off some exceedingly high-priced inputs. It's almost like this right here, great, $30, that's no big deal. I can justify that all day long. I think for me, the non-farmer listening to you, I'm saying I'm going to spend that $30 every season, all day long. I got to figure out how I can whittle back on some of these other things.
Yeah. And I mean, I think that's the key to it. But, if we're going to reduce all of our front load fertility, it's going to be more than $30 throughout the season too. So you just got to be careful of that. But, I think what's hurting us right now, of course, everybody knows we've got such a high input cost going on, a depressed wheat price per se compared to where inputs are. If we were talking $10 wheat, we wouldn't be having this same conversation. But this is where we are, so we got to figure out how to make it work and try to figure out how to show some form of profit on some of these crops. And that's one of the main reasons I want to say the main reason I hadn't cut all the wheat out. If you pencil things, nothing looks good right now.
Right.
So I'm going to try to spread my risk out and hedge my bets that by having multiple crops, something's going to hit and something's going to help us make a profit this year.
Yeah, I mean, you could make the same argument certainly on soybeans right now, possibly on corn, depending on where you are. It's tight all over the place.
That's right.
What else for next year? Canola. You're doing canola.
Yeah, we're going to play with some canola. We'll do some foliar feeding on it too. I mean, diversifying is a big thing. I would just tell people to, don't go all one crop. I can see that being the worst thing you can do. And then I would just be very careful saying that you're going to cut all your fertility out. I'm not going to say you can't stop using one type of fertility, move it to something else that might be more cost effective or a timing thing. We were talking about this, also, if the crop's not there, if it's 30, 40 inches of rain again next year or something crazy like that, and the wheat looks like it's going to cut 60 bushel, I haven't put any money in the crop. I was doing this at flowering, so I could still reduce that cost then. So I would just tell people to watch out and really just give that crop what it needs, when it needs it, and try to make the best we can out of it.
Got it. Anything else, Stephanie? The Economic Fertility Challenge. Have you learned anything? You're the agronomist and farmer around here. Has any of this actually been insightful for you? You do this kind of stuff all the time.
Yeah, all of it. Any trial you can do is beneficial because somebody is doing something that you haven't thought of that could help your operation. So I think, learning, I always use caution though, because just because it worked for Johnny in Tennessee doesn't mean it's going to work for me in Michigan. And so, take that and then trial it on your own farm. Take a little piece of that home. Don't switch all your acres. Don't look at the results and find out what this foliar treatment was and put all your acres to it, hoping for the same response. Just, try it a little bit and see what works for your area as well.
Yeah. And people heard people on XtremeAg the last few years really talk about having a balanced crop. I think doing programs like this really can help you balance it. Kelly threw out about every micronutrient you could at it and trying to see which one was going to benefit. A lot of the stuff that we had already predetermined, though, was stuff that Kelly was probably doing more in his area, not so much in mine, because the time I got the tissue samples, I was already spraying like the next day or two. So it made it very hard to work that out. So Kelly might have done some things different, but having products shipped all over the country and in a timely fashion is hard too. We came up with a plan, stuck to our budget. I knew to go in low because I knew Kelly was going to blow the budget all the way to the top. So we were just hoping to win on ROI, not on yield, and got lucky and won on both. And this was replicated across the field. So it wasn't like it was just a 500-foot pass and that was it. This was replicated, so it was some good data.
Yeah, so you did some really good stuff. So that's the difference between the three treatments. Kelly threw out a lot of different micronutrients, and Johnny Verell, you did more what you normally do.
Yeah, I went basic. This went probably more volume. Kelly actually went probably the least amount of volume of the products, wasn't it, Stephanie? Isn't that right?
Yep, he was by far the lowest.
Yeah, so he did all kinds, just not at high rates. I kind of went with just a few products or a few nutrients that I was needing at a high rate.
And Temple's approach was?
He did pretty much everything. NPK, boron, at almost 4 gallons per acre. So. Yep.
But they all stayed within the $30, and obviously the big winner here was Mr. Verell. And you'd say, well, there's not a lot of difference between top and bottom, 114 to 109. Well, 5 bushels at $5.50.
Yeah.
Yeah, 27, $30. It matters a lot right now, more than ever.
Yeah, absolutely.
You made enough difference just to pay for your budget on your foliar applied AgroLiquid products.
Yeah, it's always good when you do an application like this and you actually get a good return too. I mean, that's the big takeaway. And I think that's what's been eye-opening across all these trials we've done at all the different farms. It does, just because you spend the most doesn't mean you're going to make the most. But sometimes you do get lucky and do that, and then you double dip, so to say. But most of the trials, it doesn't work out that way, it seems like. I remember Matt lost at his own home last year, and Kelly came in and reduced nitrogen, did all kinds of things with the AgroLiquid trial and beat Matt at his home turf, but it doesn't always work that way either. So
poor Matt has been reminded of this on about 3/4 of our recordings that he lost his own contest at his place, but it's all educational, man. It's all good.
Yeah,
all right. So if you want to learn more about the AgroLiquid lineup, we're talking about the Economic Fertility Challenge here in conjunction with XtremeAg on how you can cut back, especially dry applied, and then use more foliar stuff throughout the season. That was a big theme here, obviously. We're going to be giving you results. We owe you results now. You got the results on wheat. We're going to get you results if you're, depending on how you go about listening to this. You can go back and listen to the setup and how they were put in, etc. It's all there. Just type in the search engine at our XtremeAg channel, AgroLiquid, and you can see this whole thing. Also, go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. It doesn't cost anything. While you're there, check out our new show, The Granary. It's filmed right here at my farm with my friends from XtremeAg, talking about everything from the personal to the professional and everything in between about the industry of agriculture. If you want to learn more about AgroLiquid stuff, Stephanie, they go to
agroliquid.com.
Next time, thanks for being here at XtremeAg's Cutting the Curve. I'm Damian Mason.
That's a wrap for this episode of Cutting the Curve. Make sure to check out XtremeAg.farm for more great content to help you squeeze more profit out of your farming operation.